We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for us. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends as we're chatting it up with William Boor, does such great work over at Action Network. We have to take a look at these wild playoff races out there in the National League and the American League. We're also going to be taking a look at what we've all got on the board here for Sunday in the final segment. I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis for every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we all fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUnit_81. Keep in mind, RCM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, but boy, did we have a fun day of baseball on Saturday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Call the papers. The Athletics actually won a game. 4-3. They take down the Houston Astros. They were at one point 38-38. They've now went 12-42 in their last 54 games, but they get this one with Jacob Lopez giving up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. Luis Medina does give up 2 runs in his inning work. Dalton Varsho took him deep for his 9th home run season, but Hogan Harris, Elvis Alvarado both give you a scoreless inning. Hunter Brown solid in his start. 1 run allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Donovan Walton gets his 4th home run in the campaign off of him. AJ Blubaugh, 1 1/3 inning scoreless, and then Bennett Sosa, 3 runs allowed in a third of an inning before Brian Abreu gives you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, but not a loss, so you want to be taking if you're the Astros. A win that you want if you're the Brewers, though. Top team in all of baseball. They will be at least 500 this year. They're up to 81 wins. 4-1, they take down the Bravos. For Martin Perez, 4 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up in 4 innings. Jake Bauers gets his 23rd home run in the campaign off of him. Victor Medeiros, squirrel setting out of the bullpen. Brent Suter, the former Brewer, 3 shutout innings, but Logan Anderson, he was tremendous. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Chad Patrick, DL Turnetta Paul, and Aaron Ashby all able to end scoreless innings. For the Toronto Blue Jays, 4-3, they're able to take down the New York Yankees. Dylan Cease had a no-hitter going through 5 innings. Does give up 1 run in 6 2/3 innings, and he did walk 5, but did his job. Spencer Milson out of the bullpen squirrels. Then Tyler Rogers gives up a home run to Luis Garcia, 26th home run in the campaign. From there, Louis Varland, scoreless inning, and Ryan Weathers, well, he did not weather the storm well here. 2 runs allowed in 3 1/3 innings. Bullpen from there was solid as Yuri De Los Santos, 2 2/3 innings. He gives up 1 run. Bradley Hanner, he made it, I believe, Yankees debut, 1 2/3 innings. Does give up a home run to Nathan Lukes, 8th home run in the campaign. Fernando Cruz, 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels by the Yankees. Once again, having a tough time scoring. 1 of 12 with men in scoring position there. The other New York team, no problem scoring. 10-5, they take down the Chicago White Sox. Luis Castillo, not long for this game. 4 runs allowed in 2 2/3 innings. He was cranked deep twice in this game, and every other pitcher that came in after him gave up a home run as well. Trevor Richards, 2 runs allowed in 2 innings. Oscar Brisbane, solo home run given up in his inning work. Tyler Schweitzer, 3 runs allowed in 3 1/3 innings as Luis Torrance gets his 8th home run in the campaign. Bo Bichette, his 14th. Luis Robert, 8th and 9th home runs of the campaign. Carson Bench, his 16th, and on the flip side, Christian Scott was not great. Scott, he gave up a pair of home runs. Bryson Montgomery, 5th home run in the campaign. Tristan Peters, his 8th. He gives up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings. From there, you did have Jonathan Pitaro give up a run in 2/3 innings, but also more on 5 outs, scoreless out of the bullpen. Daniel Nunez, Kodai Senga, they both give you a scoreless innings, so the Mets trying to play some spoiler out there in the NL East. Right now, the Nationals are not playing a lot of spoiler. 4-2, the Miami Marlins get the job done here as Yuri Perez. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up in 5 innings. Michael Peterson, great name at scoreless inning. Josh Eknes, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Tyler Zuper, pair of outs of the bullpen scoreless, and Calvin Fauché, scoreless inning. And Jake Irvin, 4 runs allowed in 6 innings. He gives up a pair of bombs. Alberto Hernandez, 19th home run of the season. Jacob Marcy, his 8th, and then you did have Jake Bird give the bird with a scoreless inning, along with Eric Tomlin being able to get a scoreless inning as well. Lots of scoreless innings in this one. The Angels blank the Walker Texas Rangers 3-0 the final as for Ryan Johnson, 7 shutout innings, gives up just 1 hit along the way, and he has been awful this season. Michael Fulmer, Ryan Watson, scoreless 8th and 9th innings, and Cody Bradford was not bad. 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Cole Winn, 5 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Robbie Elstrom gives up a run in an inning. Peyton Gray, scoreless inning of his own, but for the Rangers, are feeling all sorts of gray as they take another loss to a bottom feeder out there in the AL West. This team, they did not take a loss. The Philadelphia Phillies, they fill it up 12-3. They take down the St. Louis Cardinals. Quinn Matthews, not what he's looking for. Third career starting, he gives up 7 runs over the course of 5 innings. Ryan Fernandez gives up 4 runs in 2 innings. He allowed a home run. Pedro Baez, that's a position player, gives up a home run to Kyle Schwarber. 38th Schwarber bomb of the season. Bryce Harper would also go deep, 26th home run of the campaign. And Andrew Painter is starting to round into form. 1 run allowed in 7 innings for the Phillies. Jose Alvarado, Chase Shogert, they both give up a run in their inning, with Alvarado giving up a home run to J.J. Weatherall. 17th home run season, way too little, way too late out there. And for the Orioles, they have the Rays number. They've now gone 5-1 in the last 2 series against the Rays, 3-2 in 10 innings. They get the job done here. Brandon Young gives up 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings as Liam Hicks took a deep 17th home run season. But from there, Alex Hoppe, 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Andrew Kittredge, Josh Walker, they both under scoreless inning, and then a scoreless 10th inning from Uncle Rico Garcia to get it done. Shane McClanahan was good in this start. 5 shutout innings. From there, Tyler Wells against his old team pitches Wells 2 shutout innings, but Kevin Kelly gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Samuel Basallo, 17th home run on the campaign. Garrett Clevenger, 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. And then Brian Baker, the former Oriole, gives up the winning hit. Dylan Beavers, a RBI double to be able to walk it off. No walk-off needed in this one, as for the Kansas City Royals, they take down the Detroit Tigers by a count of 3-1. For the Tigers, Drew Anderson gives up 3 runs in 5 innings, taken deep by Salvador Perez, 17th home run season, and Kyle Isbell, his 6th. From there, Tanner Rainey, he was able to set fire to the Rainey with a scoreless inning, and Drew Summers, 2 shutout innings, but not a lot doing off of Michael Wacha. No dying Pac-Man voice here. He does give up a home run to A.O. Lee. That was his 7th home run of the campaign, but gives up just 1 run over the course of 7 innings. From there, Alex Lang, Craig Kimbrell, they're both able to end scoreless innings. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, not a lot of problems scoring without Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, but they had a tough time with their pitching. 11-5, they lose the Cincinnati Reds. As Brett Lauder, he made some noise on the mound. 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, given up in 6 innings, and he was taken deep twice. Nolan Arenado, 21st home run of the season, and Tim Taba gets his 8th home run of the season. But from there, you did have Lewis May and TJ Antone both give you a scoreless inning. Tony Santillan gives up a run in an inning, and for Michael Soroka, this was definitely not what he was hoping for here, as he gives up 6 runs over the course of 3 1/3 innings. From there, Zach Littell, well, he comes up very little. He gives up 3 home runs, 4 runs in total over the course of 3 2/3 innings. You had Dennis Santana from there give up a home run in his inning, where Kevin Ginkel was able to give you a scoreless inning. But going deep for the Reds, J.J. Bleday gets his 21st home run in the campaign. Matt McLean is 13th. Ellie De La Cruz is 21st. And then home run number 1 for the young gun, I believe, of his career as well, for one Mr. Hector Rodriguez, the young 22-year-old. So congratulations to him, and congratulations to the Slam Diego Padres for slamming the Minnesota Twins. 7-5 the final, as this one looked like the Twins were going to be able to get the job done in. They were up by a count of 5-1, and then things went into the abyss. Dean Kramer, relatively solid start, 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Was taken deep by Jackson Merrill, 20th home run of the campaign. From there, A.J. Minter, pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, and then had Andrew Morris give up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in an inning. Tammy Nance gives up a run in an inning, and Casey Mize, not what he was hoping for. 4 runs allowed in 2 2/3 innings. Bullpen at his back, though. Kyle Hurt, he gives up a run in his inning. Griffin Canning, 3 1/3 innings, scoreless. In long relief, Adrian Morejon and Mason Miller, they're both able to turn scoreless innings. And then for the Cleveland Guardians, 4-3, they're able to take down the Colorado Rockies. Gabriel Hughes, 3 runs allowed in 5 innings, does give up a home run to Joe Adell, sets fire to the rain for his 20th home run in the campaign. From there, you did have Nick Frazo give up a run in an inning, scoreless inning out of Brandon Bernardino, and then Juan Mejia, 2 scoreless innings. But for Tanner Bybee, pretty darn good start here. Does give up a home run, 2 runs in total over the course of 6 innings, as Mickey Moniak gets his 21st home run of the campaign. And then Connor Norby was able to get home run number 5 of the campaign. That comes off of Cade Smith, who gives up that home run in his inning work, but still good enough to be able to get the save, as you did have Eric Zabrowski and Hunter Gaddis both be able to supply a scoreless inning as well, being able to supply a W. How about the LA Dodgers? 4-3 the final. Now for Mr. Tariq Skubal, he gives up 3 runs in the first inning, settles down from there. 11 punch-outs, does give up the 3 runs, all coming in the first inning, as you did have Oneil Cruz have himself a nice day with an RBI triple. And then on the flip side, Jared Jones was just not long for this game. 2 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. He, from there, was able to pass it off to Yohan Ramirez, who was messed with 2 runs allowed in an inning. Camilo Duvall, Kirby Yates were both able to give you a scoreless inning, and then you did have a scoreless inning as well out of Antoine Kelly, but for the LA Dodgers, they were able to get a scoreless inning out of Tanner Scott to be able to close it out. Evan Phillips, Jack Dreyer, a combined scoreless 8th inning to be able to get that one to the window. Being able to get this one to the window in a walk-off fashion, the Seattle Mariners 5-4. They take down the Chicago Cubs as David Peterson. Great name and a pretty solid start here. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. Was taken deep by Randy Arozarena, his 18th home run of the season. Then, in walk-off fashion off of Jacob Webb, Randy Arozarena, 3-run shot for his 19th home run of the season. Webb gives up all 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Before that, you had Trent Thornton give you 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Ryan Rolson was able to give you a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels as well. And this was the MLB debut of Cade Anderson. Not necessarily what he was hoping for. Does fill 5 2/3 innings, and in his debut, you know that the nerves are going. Gives up 3 runs, including 2 home runs. Alex Bregman, 19th home run of the season. Michael Busch, he was able to get his 16th, but the bullpen at his back. You had Sir Anthony Dominguez, Michael Rucker, both give you a shutout inning. Carlos Vargas does give up a run in 1 1/3 innings, but Mariners find a way to be able to get a win that they so desperately needed, and this team, they just continue to get W's. For the Boston Red Sox, 3-2, they take down the San Francisco Giants. If you, like me, had the Giants on the money line, this one was rough as Blake Tidwell. Really good start here. 5 2/3 inning scoreless. Carson Seymour, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. And then you had Dylan Smith give up a run in his inning work. Sam Entages, he comes in, he gives up 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning. After Patrick Sandoval, he had given up 2 solo home runs in 5 2/3 innings. William Adames, his 21st home run of the campaign, and Austin Knizer, the backup catcher, he gets his first home run of the campaign. From there, though, Greg Weisert and Giovanni Bourne both give you a scoreless inning, and the Oldsmobile was able to get a win. Wyatt Olds, he gets 4 outs out of the bullpen, so he was able to get awarded that W, so yay, verily there. And if you're taking a look at what we're all getting trend-wise in Major League Baseball right now, it has become a very underwhelming season, as you had more overs than unders prior to the All-Star break. Now the under rate is hovering right in that neighborhood, about 51.2%, 973 unders, 927 overs, and I believe we've now had 45 pushes along the way. Favorites on the money line hitting at 56.5%. 1,069, very nice, and 823 on the money line. But among those favorites, we've now had 274 fail to cover the run line. If you look at the last 30 days in baseball, we've had a lot of favorites not be able to cover the run line, as the favorites are 233 and 168. But among those favorites, we have now seen a whopping 66 fail to cover the run line in the last 30 days. 54.7% hit rate to the under, 219 unders, 181 overs, and I believe we've had 10 pushes along the way. Meanwhile, if you look at the last 7 days in baseball, under rate right around about 55.8%, as you've had 53 unders, 42 overs, and no pushes along the way. And favorites hitting at 68%, 63 and 29 on the money line, but 23 of those favorites failed to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're all getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend William Boor over at Action Network right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Decent Family Podcast.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always great to be joined by this man, as we've got William Boor aboard. He's doing such amazing work over at Action Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. But on top of the baseball front, he's doing an incredible job getting us all set for some football. Right now, the games really do not matter with regards to wins and losses in terms of these teams for the regular season. But if you're betting on preseason football, those bets, they do matter, because that is real money that is being won/lost, and they're doing a great job over there. If you can bet on it pretty much in the continent of North America, they are covering it over at Action Network. And for William, over on Twitter/X, you're able to follow him at the letter W, last name Boor, Boor, all together. And William, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Of course, Greg. Always happy to hop on and talk baseball and talk betting with you.
Absolutely. And William, we've got ourselves some fun playoff races right now. Feel like in the National League, it's pretty fortified with regards to the divisions, but that wild card race is interesting because the two teams out west, the Padres and the Arizona Diamondbacks, have played good baseball here in the second half of the season. But what do we make out of that race with the Cardinals creeping up and the Diamondbacks having a Marte Parte situation with Ketel Marte being spotted at a casino about 24 to 48 hours ago?
Yeah, that's not what you want.
Nah.
The Diamondback, I mean, I don't know. We're on a betting podcast. Maybe it is what you want. But for the Diamondbacks, there's just an unfortunate situation. Like you said, they've been playing well. They're, a game back as we're recording it, but games are being played right now. So when people listen to this, a game back, 2 games back, even, whatever, they're right in the thick of things. And you don't want, your best, second best player being a huge distraction. It's one thing for him to be on the injured list, which the knee injury may or may not be real. I don't know. But you definitely don't want him going AWOL, him being at the casino, no one knowing where he is, him not talking to the manager, off day meetings at the facility with the GM. Like, it's just a mess that the team doesn't want. And you even saw with interviews with the players on Friday night's games where it's like they're confused. They want explanations. It's just like, the game of baseball is hard. There's 162 games. There's a lot to deal with. You don't want extra stuff. It has definitely made me think twice about betting the Diamondbacks, each of the past 3 or 4 days. There's been some days where I didn't like the number and I wasn't going to bet them anyway. But there's been certain days where I've been like, ooh, I like the Diamondbacks in this spot. I have no idea where they're at mentally. And the Diamondbacks, for me, have just been a pass for the week or so because it's so weird.
Yeah, it's one of the most strange situations I've seen in quite some time because, he's no longer absent without leave because now we've got photos of him, so we know that he's out there in Arizona. He was over at Talking Stick Resort, Casino, whatever you want to call it. So, interesting ordeal to say the least. And when it comes to interesting ordeals, I feel like we might have as much clarity with the American League playoff race as we do with Ketel Marte because that whole thing has been a mess. What do you make out of an American League right now where obviously the Red Sox have played some good baseball recently, maybe not quite as hot as they were a few weeks ago, but they've been solid, Rays have been solid, and everything else feels like a mess.
Yeah, well, the Red Sox were obviously not going to keep that up forever. They're playing 900 ball. But overall, the AL race is fun. Not only do we've got, a close race, but at the top, you've got Yankees, Red Sox, which is always cool. And then as far as the AL West, where you got AL West / wild card. So you've got a Rangers Astros battle going on. This is a really interesting race. The whole AL East is fascinating because we've got, Rays, Red Sox, Yankees, Blue Jays all kind of fighting for something in their various spots. The AL race is kind of weird, like you said, because there's some teams Toronto that I'm not sure if they're actually good. They're sub 500, their run differential's minus 50. So I'm like, this is not an impressive group. But they're 1 game back, so what the heck? And then, the Twins, Guardians, this is just a fun race. I'm not sure if any of these teams are any good. I don't believe in any of these teams. When we get to the playoff, that third AL wildcard team, I'm fading instantly. And if they advance, then I'm just fading them again. But for right now, it's fun.
Yep, it is a lot of fun. The teams are all mediocre. We've got some bad teams that are out there, but hey, it's close. And we always love an NFL betting when you have those teams that are 8-8 fighting for playoff spots. We've got that in baseball right now, as William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And is there maybe one of those AL teams that is at 500, a few games below 500, that you do feel like there might be some value on them and they might be able to make a run?
You look at the pitching staff of the Guardians, and it's very intriguing. They can definitely stifle opponents in the postseason. The issue is they better win 1-0. So that pitching staff, as much as I want to laud it, it better pitch a bunch of shutouts. I guess the Blue Jays, you can also make an argument of they have some big names there that if they get hot, if Vlad goes on a tear or something like that. But we're 130 games in. So at some point we've got to realize that it's not happening. I feel like I can make cases for multiple of these teams, but it just kind of, some of this feels like really naive and really delusional, where you're like, you're making the case, but it's also like, hey, look, dude, that hasn't happened in 130 games. Why is it going to happen now?
Yep, I think so as well. I do think that this is just such a interesting race, to say the least, and it's going to be a fun one as well. As William Boor does such great work over at Action Network. He's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and we've got ourselves some really good games that are going to be going down on Sunday. And I know that you mentioned that the Arizona Diamondbacks have recently been a skip. Right now, they're minus 125 to minus 135 favorites against the Reds. Total of 8.5 with Mitch Brad against Andrew Abbott. And I want to get your thoughts here because I do think that this is a good spot for the over. I have not been bullish on Andrew Abbott. Mitch Brad has a relatively okay ERA at 4.17. He's not knocking my socks off. Reds have a bad bullpen. I know that for the Diamondbacks, they're without their top home run hitter, but with Nolan Arenado back, I think that we can get some runs out in the desert on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm fine backing. When I talked about the Diamondbacks earlier, like I'm fine backing an over or an under. I think totals are one thing, but just sides have been tripping me out because of the Marte thing. But I think with these offenses, these starters, that park, I'm with you. Everything, if we're looking at that game on Sunday, everything screams over. So for me, over or pass.
Yep, I think that that's a good way of looking at it. And for the Diamondbacks, I mean, going into the day on Saturday, they were actually fourth in the league in terms of run creation since the All-Star break. So they've actually been quite good with their offense. So shout out to the Arizona Diamondbacks there. And then this is a massive series. The Baltimore Orioles have had the number of the Rays recently. We're doing this before we know the final on Saturday. But right now, Nick Martinez on the bump for the Rays. Small favorites of like minus 110, minus 120, total of 8.5. Want to get your thoughts here because doing my research, Shane Baz has actually been your least profitable pitcher in all of baseball. He honestly has not pitched bad, but has had so much bad luck, and perhaps there might be a little bit of positivity doing from on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm with you. I hear what you're saying. I can't get there in Baltimore. Nick Martinez has been good all year. Tampa Bay's been good. As long as they're still playing for something, to me, this is a Tampa spot.
Yep, and with the Tampa Bay Rays, they have also been one of those top 8 teams in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break as well, so might be a few runs to be had out there. And then when it comes to the Little League World Series game, this will be pretty much a neutral site game. It's Brewers versus the Atlanta Braves. Brewers are between minus 125 to minus 135 favorites, total of 7.5. How do you take a look at these sort of one-off games? Do you just stay away because of the unknown element of this being out there in Williamsport, or is this one that you might want to get involved with?
This one I'm going to pass, but I guess to answer your question, on these games with their one-offs, I usually avoid totals. I'll look at the pitching matchup, and if I see an edge, in the starter, I'll bet into it that way. But when they're in weird parks or weird locations, you don't necessarily know park factors, for carry. Travel gets weird. You don't necessarily know who got in at a weird time or what random hotel they're staying at a different place. Like, to me, I always avoid totals in these games. If anything, I will take a side. But for the Brewers and Braves in this one specifically, I don't necessarily like a side. So this will be something where I will watch. It seems kind of fun. I like the spectacle, but I'll just enjoy it as a fan.
Yep, and this is going to be a fun one. I always love the Little League World Series game. I'm not necessarily the biggest on watching the Little League World Series because if they're not my kids, and I don't have any kids, I'm not necessarily going to be watching that. But hey, you know what? It's always a lot of fun. So that's going to be a good one as our good friend William Boor over at Action Network is joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And this one I think is a fascinating game as well. Seeing a total between an 8 to an 8.5 between Nationals versus the Miami Marlins. Marlins between minus 155 to minus 165 favorites. And want to get your thoughts here because the Nationals still lead the league in terms of run creation, but James Wood is out of the fold. CJ Abrams is out of the fold. They were sellers at the trade deadline. Things seem to be toilet bowling for them. And you also have Jansen Junk on the flip side for the Miami Marlins, who's not necessarily the most trustworthy guy in the world as well.
This is kind of a mess for any number of reasons, all of which you very properly laid out. I think if you made me that, I would gravitate toward the Marlins because of the Nationals' injuries and because the second half hasn't been as impressive as the first. But I think this game is a nice time to remind everyone just because a game is being played doesn't mean you need to bet it. Some games you can watch and learn information for later. Sometimes you can just turn off the TV and grab a beer on Sunday afternoon with your friends. So for me, for this game, kind of interesting. I could make a case any number of ways, but for me, this is just a straight pass.
I am liking the over in this game, especially
That's
on that
fair.
8, so I'm going to be liking that one. Jackson Kent, he's, giving up more runs than he's got an ace pitch, so that's not a place where you want to be. And then I think this one is interesting as well, because with the San Diego Padres, don't look now, but Walker Buehler has been halfway decent. He's given up 3 earned runs or fewer in each out of his last 6 starts. Right now, we're finding the Padres right around minus 135, minus 140 against the Minnesota Twins, so there's some juice involved, but I'm getting the Padres as hot as they've been at home against a guy in Bailey Ober that I don't trust. This is one that stands out to me as a good spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. Give me the Padres. The number, it's fine. You're laying a little bit of juice. That's going to happen over the course of a baseball season with, just that many games and the way it all works out. But this is a team that is playing for something, which is obviously always important this time of year. This is a team that's 7-3 in their past 10 games. They're playing really good baseball. So give me the Padres. I want to hop on board and ride the hot hand on this spot.
Yep, right there with you. That was one that stood out to me. Felt like this one should have been closer, like a minus 160. So great value in my opinion there. And anything else that's really standing out to you on this baseball Sunday?
No, as I kind of scan the board, those are the big ones for sure.
Come on, don't want a shot on the Athletics, who are like 11 and $5 billion in their last 5 billion games.
Yeah, no, Guardians, Rockies. I'm not necessarily curious on a betting thing. Kind of want to keep seeing, Griffin adjust to new teams, stuff like that. That's more looking ahead for 5 days from now. The issue with that is it's a Coors Field, so regardless of how he throws, I'm not really sure what I want to make. What I ever make of a pitcher from that front. Yeah, I don't know. It's just going to be probably a slow Sunday for me as I look at the board. But, that happens. There's 180 days in a baseball season. Not all of them are going to be the most exciting.
Interestingly, with that game out there in Coors Field, Foster Griffin, second most profitable pitcher in all of baseball. You're up $1,360 if you bet the money line in every one of his starts. Tomoyuki Sagano, number 3, up $1,336 if you backed him in every one of his starts this year. So something's got to give in that one. So I am jazzed up there. And William, I know that you're jazzed up for football. You're doing a great job on the baseball front and so much more. So we'll have the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
For sure. You can find me on Twitter at WBoor, WBOOR, in the Action Network app at William Boor _. All my bets and all my picks are logged there. So be sure to check that out. Download the Action app in general. We've got a ton of content. We've got every baseball game every day. We've got every WNBA game, NFL preseason if you want to bet that. This week, we've obviously got a lot of college football futures, NFL futures. As you said at the open of this, if you can bet it, we've got it covered. So we've got all sorts of stuff for you. So hopefully you check out the website, download the app, and make some money over the next couple months.
Absolutely. Our guy, William, is doing such a great job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. And every single time he joins me, lends such great insights. A big thanks to William for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Always a pleasure to be joined by William Boor, does such great work over at Action Network, looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So big thanks to William for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81. And we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games also in time order, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So, but if we get her started, this is 901, 902 on the card. It's the Cardinals. They're going to be on the road against the Philadelphia Phillies. Cadiz for Sanchez is on the bump for the Phils, and you've got one Mr. Kyle Leahy going for the Cardinals. Cardinals plus 180 to plus 190 dogs, minus $2, minus 225 for the Phillies. 7.5 is the total. Overs minus 110 to minus 120. Unders between even to minus 110. And if you're looking at the run line of the Philadelphia Phillies, between minus 102 to a plus 105. And I'm going to be in on that run line. I set mine at a minus 104. For Christopher Sanchez, he has seen quite a bit of a rise with his ERA. You look at the first 14 starts of the season, and he was applying an ERA that was a sub 150. As a matter of fact, it was exactly a 154, but 3.82 ERA over his last 12 starts, 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He does very much have demonstrative home and road splits and has been so much more dominant when he has been at home rather than away from home. And even in this stretch of the last 12 starts where things have maybe not been as amazing as they were towards the beginning part of the season, team is still 9-3 in them. And you take a look at what he's been able to do at home this far this season, he is allowing about 0.3 home runs per 9 innings. It's been incredible the way that he's been able to reduce on hard contact there. 1.42 ERA at home compared to 4.07 ERA away from him. Meanwhile, for Kyle Leahy, he does have some home and road splits of his own. 3.24 ERA overall this season with about 0.9 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9 innings. At home, though, 0.3 home runs per 9 innings, 2.91 ERA, 3.61 ERA with 1.6 home runs allowed per 9. Now, I'm in on the over because you do have a Cardinals bunch that entered into Saturday averaging about 5.1 runs per game away from home. That is a top 5 mark in all of baseball. You've had Alec Burleson move the line. He, J.J. Weatherholt, Ivan Herrera, Jordan Walker, all between about a 345 to a 360 on base, with Walker leading the way with 23 plus home runs, but Burleson's up to 20 plus bombs as well. Need a little bit more towards the bottom of the lineup. Guys like Nathan Church, Jimmy Crooks, not necessarily doing a ton. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, they're a top 8 team with regards to run creation at home with about 4.9 runs per game. You add Luis Arias to be able to give you some more on base, to be able to help out those guys like Bryce Harper, who's been able to give you a 375 on base with 25 plus home runs. Kyle Schwarber, he's got 37 Schwarber bombs with a 360 on base. That turns those solo shots into 2-run shots and 3-run shots. Still need more out of JT Realmuto, but Brian De La Cruz has actually been solid out there in the outfield, hitting well above 300. Alec Bohm is now approaching a 250 average. You've had Bryson Stott find a way to move the line. Trey Turner's giving you a little bit more production, and these are two teams that have been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Yoran Duran has been solid for the Phillies, and I like Jonathan Bolin as well. Ian Brooks Raley sub 350 ERA, but Ryan Kirkring has had some issues recently. Jose Alvarado has just been absolutely awful with this bullpen ever since the drug suspension. He has happened himself to Meza, Alex McFarland. These are guys that are shaky, and on the other end of things, Cardinals, they are hovering right around about 22nd in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Luis Garcia, in my opinion, just is not the answer for this team. Justin Brule's actually been solid, sub 350 ERA out of him. Ryan Fernandez is a guy that I really don't trust in, though. George Soriano, Ryan Stanek, above a 4 ERA. Peter Strzelecki has not been impressive as well. So I do think that you're going to be able to get some run scoring in this game. I did set my total at 8.1, so I'm going to be in on the over. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, willing to lay a run half on the run line. I did set this one at a minus 104. 953, 954 on the card. The Nationals are going to be on the road against the Miami Marlins. Jansen Junk hopes to not live up to his name for the Miami Marlins, and Jackson Kent, he goes for the Nationals. Nationals do find themselves as a underdog here, and between plus 135 to a plus 143, minus 153 to minus 163. That number for Miami, 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Under is minus 115, the over is minus 105. On the 8, over is minus 120, under is even, and whether you've got an 8 or an 8.5, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over, and I'm also in on the Nationals on the money line. Now, Jackson Kent, first 2 starts, not necessarily impressive. 7 2/3 innings. He allows 8 runs, all of which were earned. He's got the 8 walks, and this has been a bullpen for the Washington Nationals that has been in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Getting back Brad Lord as a long guy should be able to help, but probably not going to be available for this game. You didn't necessarily get the world's greatest start out of Jake Irvin yesterday, so that does use up a little bit of the bullpen, but you do have these guys like Clayton Beater, Orlando Robalta. They've been able to give you a sub 425 ERA. Jake Bird is not necessarily necessarily great to say the least, but for the Washington Nationals, even though this is a team that is relatively banged up, you're dealing with C.J. Abrams, James Wood currently being out of the fold. Nasim Nunez continues to give you 40-plus stolen bases. You've been able to have someone like an Andres Chaparro be able to step up, give you over a 325 on base. Alan Lyle's been able to give you 15-plus home runs, so they still have some formidable bats. And for the Miami Marlins, this has been a team that's been struggling with their power. You do have Alberto Hernandez up to 19 home runs to be able to lead the way. They really just do it via stealing bases. These guys like Jacob Marcy, Xavier Edwards, Esteury Ruiz, Otto Lopez have all been able to give you 18-plus stolen bases this year. For Marcy, he needs to hit better than a 209, but been able to have Ruiz give you about a 370 on base. You've been able to get something out of Augustin Ramirez ever since he's become available for the team. And for the Miami Marlins, this is a bullpen that has been very much less than impressive since July 1st. Entering into the day yesterday, 5.27 bullpen ERA. That is a bottom 5 mark in all baseball. Josh Eknes has actually given you a sub 2 ERA. John King, though, his ERAs went above a 350. Kelvin Fauché has been awful. Pete Fairbanks just all season long has not been able to give you too much whatsoever. And when it comes to Jansen Junk, only about 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings out. Really doesn't hurt himself. About a 4.37 ERA. Fielding depends a little bit higher because he does give up about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. He's only passing out about 2.4 walks per 9 innings, but I do think that you're going to be able to get some runs up on the board in this game, so I'm going to be in on the over, so I tell it at 8.8. And even though Jackson Kenton has been a little bit shaky, I think that he rounds into form. I'm willing to take plus 137 or better on that Nationals money line. 905, 906 on the card. It is the Pirates. They walk the plank to the road to face off against the LA Dodgers. As for the Dodgers, Blake Snell gets a start for them, and should be Carmen Molzinski going here for the Pirates. Pirates are between plus 225 to plus 235 underdogs, minus 280 to minus 290. That number on the Dodgers, 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 120, over is even money. And if you're looking to lay run half with the Dodgers, I'm seeing as low as a minus 115, as high as a minus 136. So that one is very much all over the place. And for the Pirates, I'm going to be willing to take the plus money here. I did set them at a plus 214, so I'm going to be willing to fire in here. You do have a Dodgers lineup that just hasn't been quite the same when they have been at home rather than away from home. For the Dodgers, right now they lead the big leagues in terms of road run production with over 5.6 runs per game, 4.3 runs per game at home, and since the beginning of the month of July, they've been averaging just a hair above 4 runs per contest. Carmen Molzinski, not a guy that's going to light the world on fire or anything like that. His strikeout per 9 rate right around about 7.1, but he does a nice job not ordering himself. 4.03 ERA, about a 376 fielding dependent, 0.8 home runs, 3.2 walks per 9 innings. So I've actually liked what I've seen out of him now. In a little bit of a rough patch, he has given up 4+ runs at each out of his last 3 starts, but for Blake Snell, even though he's come off the injury list, has been very solid in the few starts that he's had, you still do have to have a little bit of question mark with him. He does always have a little bit of a command issue for his career 4 walks per 9 innings. This year, again, small sample size of 3 starts, 3.6 walks per 9 innings, and has looked good in these last 2 starts, but you also do have a Dodgers bullpen that has been quite banged up. You're without Blake Trinan right now. Edwin Diaz back on the injury list, probably a good thing, but Will Klein is currently out of the fold. They do get back Evan Phillips along with Brock and Roll Stewart. These have been 2 guys that have been relatively solid. Phillips, I feel like, has pitched better than that 4.91 ERA. Then you've got Alex Vesia, Tanner Scott. These guys are able to give you a sub 3.75 ERA as well. But again, for the Dodgers, just not quite the same offense when they've been at home. Kyle Tucker has obviously been a massive disappointment. Shohei Ohtani continues to be Shohei Ohtani, though. 30+ home runs, over a 380 on base. Max Muncy, 25+ bombs. Andy Paz maybe doesn't draw a lot of walks, but he's able to give you 20+ home runs. Moves the line inning about a 270. Still need a little bit more from some of these guys at the bottom. Teoscar Hernandez has not had the best season. Mookie Betts, he was heating up towards like early June and July. He's been slipping up a little bit as well, but on the flip side for the Pirates, I think Oneil Cruz coming back is massive for this team. Already 2 home runs over the last week or so. We saw the Pirates be able to jump very early on Tariq Skubal yesterday, so that's big. And you've got just a lot of guys that are moving the line for this team. Esmeralda Valdez, Nick Gonzalez, Cruz, who I mentioned before, Brian Reynolds, Jake Magnum, even Rafael Flores. Each of their top 6 hitters in the lineup yesterday give you at least a 345 on base. And then you got Brandon Lau, who's been able to get loud. He's been able to give you 24+ home runs, was out of the starting lineup yesterday. But I mean, overall, this is a formidable Pirates lineup that I think is going to be able to put some runs up on the board in this game. So I did set a total here of an 8.4. Right now I am seeing an 8.5. I do think that Molzinski is going to be able to give you a relatively good start. The 8.5 for me just a hair too high. If we go to an 8, I'd rather have an 8 over rather than an 8.5 under. But at the 8.5 under, I'm going to be willing to take that, even though you do have a Pirates bullpen that has been in the bottom 10 in terms of ERA ERA, but picking up Luke Weaver at the trade deadline is big. Kirby Yates has been able to give you some solid innings. I'm still not a fan of Camilo Duvall, but hey, you've got a guy, Yohan Ramirez, who's been a nice long guy, so I'm going to be willing to take the Pirates here on the money line. Set this at a plus 214 and at an 8.5 in on the under, semi-total at an 8.4. 909, 910 on the card. The Braves and the Brewers do battle from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Tyler Mahle goes for the Braves. Shane Drone is on the bum for the Brewers, and the Brew Crew do find themselves as a favorite here of anywhere between minus 125 to a minus 135, between plus 110 to a plus 117. That's your number on Atlanta. 7.5 is a total, unders minus 120, and the over is even. We've seen quite a few lower scoring games out here at Williamsport, but I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over. I did semi-tell it at 8.1, mainly because for Tyler Mahle, while he has very much impressed in his time as a member of the Atlanta Braves since they picked him up at the trade deadline, he's made 3 starts and he's given up just 3 runs in 18 and a third innings. He still has massive splits because he was with the San Francisco Giants to begin the season, a very pitcher-friendly ballpark, and in his starts made away from San Francisco this year, he's still supplying a 6.06 ERA. That includes the one home start they had with the Atlanta Braves as well. Meanwhile, for Shane Drone, he actually was coming out of the bullpen in his last appearance, went 2 innings there. If you look at his last actual starts, so these are actual true starts, not coming out of the bullpen or anything like that, he's allowed at least 3 runs in 6 out of the last 7. Now, still for the season, 3.86 ERA with a lower fielding dependent, 8.9 strikeouts, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but I do think that the Braves get back online a little bit more with this offense. It's been barren for them over the last few days, but still, you've got a lot of guys like Drake Baldwin, Ozzie, Albies, Michael Harris, who have all been able to give you at least 20 home runs thus far this season. For Baldwin, over 350 on base. Got a lot of guys for the Braves that don't necessarily draw a lot of walks, but Matt Olson, 34 plus home runs, he's hitting at 260. That's certainly going to be able to fly. Mauricio Dubon is hitting about at 270. Need more out of Austin Riley, Mikey Stremski, even Jim Jarvis at the bottom of the full, but overall that top 6 is very rock solid, and for the Brewers are actually last in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Jake Bauers leads the way, got his 23rd of the campaign yesterday, but they're still a top 5 team in terms of run creation with darn near 5 runs per game because they small ball you to death. Andrew Vaughn, it's above 300. Bauers, who I mentioned before, 385 on base. Jackson Chourio, 15 plus home runs. Bryce Rang is right around 15 bombs as well. Both of those guys over a 340 on base. William Contreras about a 340 on base. Garrett Mitchell, 360 on base. So lots of guys to move the line. Top 3 bullpens in terms of ERA in the National League as well. For the Brewers, Trevor McGill has just been absolutely locked down for this team. Antonio Sensatella started to regress a little bit, but he's been solid. Aaron Ashby, he's been able to give you an ERA that's a sub 355, but now you do have Abner Uribe on the injured list, still waiting Jojo Romero being able to come off the injured list as well, and then for the Atlanta Braves, the Dylans, Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, they have both been rock solid with a sub 325 ERA. Tyler Kinley has not necessarily been amazing for the bullpen, but hey, Victor Medeiros, he was able to save a lot of the bullpen yesterday along with Brent Suter, so you're going to get more of those trustworthy guys. Racio Iglesias going to be available in this game, and you've also been able to get some relatively good production as well out of a few of these other mix and match guys. So I do think that for the Brewers, they do enough with their small ball to get the job done here. They're going to have last ups as well, so I set the Brewers at a minus 126, and on that minus 125 money line, I like the over, so I tell it at 8.1. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. The Rays are going to be on the road against the Orioles. The Wizard of Boz, Shane Baz, goes for the Orioles. Nick Martinez is on the bump for the Rays, and this is a spot where the Rays are a very slim favorite here. You're going to be finding them between minus 108 to a minus 120. Seeing as good as plus 105, as bad as minus 108 here on Baltimore. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 115 to minus 120. Unders between even to minus 105. I'm in on the Orioles money line. I did set them at a minus 106. Now for Shane Baz, he is the least profitable pitcher in all of baseball. If you bet him on the money line in every one of his starts this year, because the team is 6-19 in his starts, you're down $1,409. I'm going to buy low here because it's not particularly Shane Baz's fault. You look at the overall numbers, and maybe he's not like a Cy Young candidate or anything like that, but 4.02 ERA, 333 fielding dependent, 0.7 home runs, 8.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, and I am for Shane Baz. He had a relatively rough start to the season. He's actually been in relatively good form here. He's only had 2 starts where he's given up 3+ earned runs over the course of his last 17, and the span of his last 17 starts, a 3.38 ERA, 2.92 fielding dependent, allowing about 0.5 home runs per 9 innings. Like, he's pitched well, and for Nick Martinez, I think that the regression is going to continue to come. He got pounded in his last start. He has been pitching to so much contact thus far this season. He's really lucky that he's got a Mr. 3.05 ERA, 4 fielding dependent. He's giving up 1.1 home runs, 1.4 walks per 9 innings, but 5.3 punch-outs per 9 innings. He has given up now a combined 10 runs over the course of his last 2 starts. He gave up 4 runs in a complete game against the Athletics, by the way, which I just find that to be hilarious. But I do think that it continues here, and we do have a Rays lineup that, ever since the All-Star break, they've been a top 7 team in terms of run creation, and it's not just Junior Caminero as well. That's your main home run hitter, over 33 bombs, giving you about a 360 on base, but Andy Diaz, 19 bombs, 375 on base, Jonathan Aranda, 365 on base, 15-plus home runs, Liam Hicks, 370 on base, 15-plus home runs, so it's a rock-solid lineup. Nick Fortes moves the line, Johnny DeLuca sitting at 265, and for the Orioles, you do need these guys to be able to get on base a little bit more. Gunnar Anderson, Kobe Mayo, Tyler Alexander, along with Carlos Narvaez, mix and match guys out there in the outfield like a Leody Taveras all at 230 or lower. That's a bit of an issue, but Jackson Holiday up to a 325 on base. Pete Alonso, he's been able to give you 28 plus bombs, 365 on base. Christian Encarnacion and Strand has been able to help out the group as well. And for the Orioles, ever since June 1st, this has been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Andrew Kittredge, after a rough start to the season, he has been able to supply a sub-3 ERA over the last 75 or so days. Uncle Rico Garcia, Yunier Cano, don't you know? These guys, along with Josh Walker, have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. And for the Rays, Garrett Clevenger has been quite shaky for the team. His ERA has went above a 350. Tyler Wells, who, ironically enough, was traded away from the Orioles, he's had a little bit of a rough run of things as well. Now, Cam Boozer, Brian Baker, Kevin Kelly, these are all guys that have been very rock solid, especially Kelly. He's down to a sub-2 ERA. All three of these guys, a sub-250 ERA, but I do think that you're going to get some run scoring, and I think that the regression of Nick Martinez continues. I like the over, so I tell it at 8.9, and for the Orioles, I like their money line. Set them at a minus 106, 913, 914 on the card. The Yankees are going to be playing us to the Blue Jays. Jose Soriano is on the bump for the Jays, and Carlos Rodon is on the bump for the Yankees, and the Yankees do find themselves here as a mid-tier favorite, minus 128 to a minus 135. Meanwhile, you're going to be getting between plus 110 to a plus 118 for that number on the Blue Jays. 8 is the total in most spots. Unders minus 120, the overs even. Saw one straight 8.5 with the under at a minus 125 and the over at a plus 105, and I'm going to be in on this total to the under. I did set my total at 7.7. I'm also seeing some 7.5s out there. Would rather take an 8 under, mainly because for the Yankees' last 47 games, the team is averaging about 3.5 runs per game. And though the Blue Jays have been able to get going a little bit more with their offense, this is still a squad that they themselves are a bottom 5 team. In terms of run creation, we saw a slug out there yesterday, game number 1. Blue Jays got nothing going on offense. And for the Blue Jays, you only have one guy on the roster with over 12 home runs. Kazuma Okamoto was only hitting like a 230. George Springer is up to about a 320 on base. He's up to his 12 home runs. He's the lone other guy outside of Okamoto who's been able to give you 12 plus bombs, but I'm not great there. Now, Des Cameron has been able to move the line along with Ernie Clement. These two guys along don't call his name Leander Kirk, hitting above a 280. You're getting back Jesus Sanchez to be able to give you a little bit more, shall we say, on base. And then these guys like Bateman out there in the outfield, Charles McAdoo, the young guys have been able to step up in the absence of Liger Jr., but just still not a lot of pop out of these guys. Meanwhile, for the Yankees, Eloy Ramos has been a big disappointment for the team thus far. Luis Garcia has been able to hit a few home runs. He went deep yesterday, 26th of the campaign. He's up to about a 280 average, and George Lombard, he's not going to hit a bunch of bombs, but he's moving the line. He's hitting about a 275. The catcher spot is rough. These guys like Ryan McMahon, Jazz Chisholm, they're just not getting on base. Trash Grisham has been a big giant disappointment, but Carlos Rodon, first start coming off the injury list, he only went 4 innings. He looked relatively solid though, and overall for the season, Rodon has had pretty good swing and miss stuff. The big thing has been the command. He's getting about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he is also giving up darn near 5 walks per 9 innings. He's only given up 4 home runs as far this season, and in that 4-inning start that he had against the Blue Jays, he only gave up 1 run. So he was able to work his way back. I think that'll give you 5 solid innings, and that's all you need if you're the Yankees, because this team is the top 2 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Paul Blackburn, Fernando Cruz, David Bednar, Brent Hendrick, they've all been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. You're getting Yuri De Los Santos, who's a relatively solid long guy in the bullpen as well. So I like what they're able to provide. And for the Toronto Blue Jays, obviously Tyler Rogers, Louis Varland, these guys have been able to give you a sub 225 ERA. Simeon Woods Richardson has also been really good in this bullpen in a Blue Jays uniform, a sub 2 ERA, so shout out to him. Spencer Miles has been able to hold down the fort as well. And for Jose Soriano, the biggest thing for him is just the command, because throughout his career, in starts not made out there at Angel Stadium, he's got a sub 325 ERA. He was always significantly worse in Angel Stadium than he was away from home. You always have to have the fear of the walks, as he's giving up over 4 walks per 9 innings, but he's only giving up about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, darn near 9 punch-outs per 9 innings. Think that you get a low-scoring game, but have a bit more faith here in the Yankees. Set them at a minus 142, and on the Yankees money line, like that 800, so my total is 7.7. 915, 916 on the card. You got the Tigers. They're going to be on the road against the Royals. We do know that Daniel Lynch is going to be making the start here for the Royals. Right now it is listed as old to be determined. For the Tigers, that's a reason why there's just no numbers listed up on this game. But for the Tigers, right now Fangraphs has this listed as time in. That essentially means that we are going to be getting a bullpen game. So bullpen madness is back for the Tigers, and I made them the favorite as a result. Willing to go up to a minus 115 here with the Tigers, plus 117 or more. Looking at the Royals, made a total of a 9.3, 9 or less. You know, on the over a 9.5 higher to the under end. When Daniel Lynch has been the starter, typically Mason Black follows them. They sort of piggyback off of one another. And Daniel Lynch, when he's been a bullpen piece for the team, has actually been amazing. He has not been good as an opener, though. I'm almost wondering why they're not throwing Mason Black as a starter, because in the 3 start/opens that Lynch has made since they tried the system, he has went 8 innings and he has given up 8 runs, 7 of which have been earned, including 2 home runs allowed. And the command has been going downward as well, because overall for the season, he's only giving up about 2.7 walks per 9 innings, but that's been an issue for him as well. And for Mason Black, even though his ERA is relatively solid, he's a guy that is due for some regression as well. Right now, rocking at 3.77 ERA, fielding dependent is more around about a 6.22 with 6 walks allowed per 9 innings with 6 punch-outs per 9, and it's not a good Royals bullpen. Second worst in the big leagues in terms of ERA, as these guys coming out of the bullpen, like a John Schreiber, he's actually been able to give you a sub-375 ERA. That's one of your best pieces right now. They are without Matt Strahm, who's been dealing with a little bit of an injury. Steven Cruz has an ERA of a 4+. Jose Cuas has actually been halfway decent for this bullpen, so shout out to you and Nate Pearson, but Connor Thomas is a guy that I have absolutely no faith in whatsoever. Alex Lang has been terrible. Craig Kimbrell, he's on his 15th career team. It's just not good, to say the least. And for the Royals, they do average more than a full run per game more at home rather than away from home, because they move the fences in at Kauffman Stadium. Jack Aguilion up to 22 home runs. He's been able to give you about a 330 on base. And then Salvador Perez, Bobby Witt Jr., 16 home runs apiece. Witt Jr. is doing a good job getting on base, swiping a lot of bags. And for Salvador Perez, about a 265 on base. You just need a lot more there. Carter Jensen, he's been able to give you 17 home runs, but again, guy that really doesn't move the line a ton. You've had Michael Massey be able to bat at 275, but he's been a guy that's been banged up. Vinny Pasquantino has been a little bit better since coming off the injury list, but for the Detroit Tigers, they've gotten reinforcements with Gleyber Torres and Javi Baez being in the fold. And even though Javi Baez hasn't been himself since coming off the injury list, what it's done is push guys like Matt Vierling, Zach McKinstry, dead bats out of the lineup, James Outman. So that's been huge. You've been able to have Kevin McGonigal give you 385 on base. He's giving you a little bit of power with 13 home runs, but the real power is coming from Dylan Dingler, 26 bombs. He's hitting about a 250. You additionally have been able to have Gleyber Torres give you a 375 on base. That's been massive for the team. Even when Ayo Lee has been out there, doesn't really draw a lot of walks, but he's hitting a 275. And since the beginning of the month of June, this is a Tigers team that does find themselves in the top 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. Like I said, right now Fangraphs has Ty Men as a projected starter. This could be a bulk roll, and they probably would be throwing an opener from. And Men probably it's only going to go like 3 or so innings. So this is just going to be a mix and match game in my opinion. You've got the likes of Jacob Waguespack, who's able to give you multiple innings. He's got a sub-2 ERA. The aforementioned Madden, he's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. He's been rock solid. Tyler Holden has been able to give you a 3.25 ERA. Kyle Finnegan has been a little bit up and down, but he's solid. Drew Summers is able to give you a little bit of relief as well. So this entire bullpen is one that I do have quite a bit of faith in. So minus 115 or better, looking at the Tigers, plus 117 or better, the Royals, and then 9 or less, like the over 9.5 or the under 917, 918 on the card. The Athletics are going to be on the road against the Astros. Should be Christian Javier getting the start here for the Houston Astros. Right now, the Athletics have yet to decide their starter, but that said, right now I am seeing a money line opener on this game of minus 185 on the Astros, plus 167 for the Athletics, 9.5 being the total, over is minus 120, and the under is even. This should be Jack Perkins, and as long as I'm able to get plus money on the run line of the Astros, I've set it at a minus 111, I'm going to be in there. Like, this is an Athletics team that's unbackable. 11-43 in their last 54 games going into yesterday. Jack Perkins, I actually think, is in for some positivity. So if we actually get that 9.5 that I'm seeing out there, somebody told at an 8.8, I will be in on the under, because for Jack Perkins, just an absolute grody, 6.96 ERA, but he does get strikeouts, 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. He is giving up 3.5 walks, 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, but the 470 fielding dependent, more than 2 full points lower than the ERA. Meanwhile, for Christian Javier, it certainly has been a rough run from not just this year, but over the last few seasons. This year, he's rocking a 6.44 ERA. Fielding dependent, though, again, 5.51. It's not amazing, but it does point towards a little bit of positivity. He's been giving up 1.7 home runs, 4.2 walks per 9 innings, but a lot of the damage was done prior to the All-Star break. He spent quite a bit of time on the injury list. You take a look at him here in the second half of the season, and he's been able to round into a little bit of better form. He's been posting up about a 4.05 ERA over the last month or so. Still's been having a little bit of issue with the deep ball, giving up 4 home runs over the course of his last 20 innings, but I do believe that he's a bit of a better pitcher here, and for the Astros, ever since June 1st, they have been a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Getting back Josh Hader has made all the difference in the world, and then you got something like a Bennett Sosa who's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Steven Okert has been really good out of this bullpen. Now, Año de los Santos still has his issues, but Brian Abreu, after a terrible start to the season, he's been a little bit better, and for the Astros, you certainly do have mashers on this lineup as Yordan Alvarez, 35-plus home runs, over a 4.25 on base. He has been magnificent. They get back Jeremy Pena yesterday. He's been able to give you double-finger amount of bombs. He's sitting over 275. Isaac Paredes, 355 on base, 15-plus home runs. Christian Walker, not a lot of average, but over 20 home runs. They need to figure out the outfield. The likes of Lamont Wade Jr., Dalton Varsho, Cam Smith, Joey Looper Fido, Zach Cole, Zach DeZenzo. I could just keep going down the list of guys sitting at 235 or less, and other than Smith, really not a lot of power out of any of these guys. That's a bit of an issue, but for the Athletics, you want to talk about a power outage. They're without their top 3 home run hitters, Shea Langoliers, along with Nick Kurtz and Tyler Soderstrom. Now, Zach Galofis, man, will give you 14 home runs. He's back, and he, Carlos Cortez, Henry Bolte, Jeff McNeil, your top 4 hitters from yesterday, all hitting at least a 258 for the team, all have relatively solid on bases. And then Donovan Walton is maybe above a 280. Doesn't give you a whole heck of a lot of power, but hey, he gets on base for you. That's better than the wrong Max Muncy, Lawrence Butler, and these other guys at the bottom of the fold. But with the Athletics, they've been a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation away from home. So, like the under for the Astros, as long as they get a minus 110 or better, I'm laying a run half on that. Run line, 919, 920 on the card. Walker, Texas Rangers are playing host to the LA Angels. Yusei Kikuchi, I say he's making his first start since April for the Angels, and it is going to be one Mr. Cal Quantrill going for the Texas Rangers. Rangers do find themselves as a pretty good-sized favorite here. You're laying between minus 155 to minus 165 with them, anywhere between plus 135 to plus 147. It's that number on Texas. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 7.5. Over is minus 120, the under is even. Seeing some 8.5s, under is minus 120, the over is even. Seeing a few straight 8s, the over is minus 120 and the under is even, and I do like the over. I did set my total at 8.7 because this is a big giant fade of Yusei Kikuchi. He's going to be making his first start since April, and you look at what he did in his 4 minor league rehab starts across a few different levels. Now, quite a few of them were with AAA Salt Lake. That's a very difficult league to pitch in, but he posted up a 15.63 ERA, giving up 5.7 walks per 9 innings. Now, he also did get 17.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, but gave up 3.6 home runs per 9 innings. Not something I want a part of. The Angels actually have some halfway decent bullpen pieces, albeit Sam Bachman is currently on the injury list, and you're dealing with a few other guys like Sammy Natera currently being on the full, but Jose Firminez may able to give you a sub 375 ERA. Ryan Johnson actually gave you a really good start yesterday. And for the Angels, this offense is averaging more than a full run per game more when they're away from home rather than at home. Mike Trout, Zach Neto, 20 plus home runs apiece. For Trout, only hitting about a 238 with the average, 380 on base. Neto, 315 on base. And after that, you've got Moises Ballesteros, who's been absolutely awful. These mix and match old guys just are not cutting it. Like they were kicking the tires on Trey Boo Boo Mancini. Christian Moore is a guy that's hitting like below a 200. Travis D'Arnaud, like man, that's not a place where you want to be, to say the least. And for the Rangers, I do think that they're going to be better with their offense moving forward. Corey Seager is looking like himself since coming out the injury list. Jock Peterson not hitting for a lot of average, but 333 on base, 20 plus home runs. Brandon Nimmo, 13 bombs. Ezekiel Duran, Nicky Lopez, Freeman in the infield. All these guys hitting between about a 260 to 270. And then Jake Berger, not a lot of on base, but hey, 19 plus home runs. But also for the Rangers, since June 1st, bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen area, you've got a trio of guys in Tyler Alexander, Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz that have been very rock solid, give you a sub 350 ERA. And then you do pick up Chase Gilseth at the trade deadline. He comes over, ironically enough, from the Angels. He's been able to help out this bullpen that has had the likes of Cole Winn, Robbie Elstrom, puts up an ERA above a 4. And for Cal Quantrill, you look at the overall ERA, and it's relatively solid, but with the way that this guy is giving up a whole bunch of contact, a hair above 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, you do have to have your trepidations that this is going to be going northward. A 3.13 ERA, but a 424 fielding dependent, 6.3 strikeouts, 2.5 walks per 9 innings. So I'm going to bypass the money line. I'm going to lay the run line, seeing that at a plus 135 on the Rangers. And semi-total at about an 8.7. I'm seeing a lot of 8 to 8.5 or less. I'm going to be in on this total to the over to go along with the Rangers laying run half on the run line. 921, 922 on the card. The Metropolitans, they are going to be on the road against the White Sox. We do know that we are going to be getting Nolan McLean going for the Mets. This is right now to be determined for the Chicago White Sox. This is a game that is presently off the board. Last time this came up, they had Eric Fetty Wap in sort of like a bulk roll. That's right now what Fangraphs is projecting. And if we do get that, I set the Mets out of minus 124, willing to lay up to minus 123 there, plus 125 or better. Looking at the White Sox, 8.4 is what I set this total at. In 8 or less, I'm going to be in on the over, in 8.5 or higher to the under. Now, you have to think that Eric Fetty is going to be pitching in some form or capacity. And for Eric Fetty, 4.33 ERA, doing for a lot of regression with a 5.33 fielding dependent. But the one thing I will say for him, and this is the career splits for Eric Fetty, he has pitched better at guaranteed rate field than pretty much any other ballpark in his career. Like, I have no idea how, I have no idea why, but when he's at guaranteed rate field, this guy has been absolutely masterful as his career ERA, because this goes back to that massive 2024 season that he had, 2.72 ERA in a career 23 appearances at guaranteed rate field. Now, he still gives up about 1.4 to 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, and he's only getting like 7 punch-outs per 9 innings, but I mean, this ballpark just very much shoots him well. And then for Nolan McLean, he's been able to do a really good job here for the Mets on the road this season specifically. Overall, 3.34 ERA, 3.61 fielding dependent, 3.4 walks per 9 innings. He does need to hone in with regards to the command, but he's getting 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, and seemingly all of his issues are coming at home. His home ERA is currently at 3.96, 2.70 ERA away from home. At home, he's giving up about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, 0.6 when he's away from home. It is a Mets bullpen that has a bunch of guys that they had to sub out. Nate Lavender has been pretty solid since he's taken over, but now you're relying upon Dan Duarte, Cortez Senga, Jeffrey Yan, who jumps after every single strikeout, even when it's not a strikeout. So that's been interesting to say the least. And for the Mets, with Juan Soto in the fold, prior to him going on the injury list on July 25th, they were averaging 4.05 runs per game. They've been averaging closer to 4.7 runs per game without him. You've got Bo Bichette, who's now up to 14 home runs, hitting about at 270. Carson Bench, 13 plus bombs, he's hitting at 275. Jacob Young is hitting at 265. Guys are starting to move the line. You still don't have a lot of, shall we say, pop, and guys like Marcus Semien, Luis Robert, Brett Beatty, just disappointments to say the least, but things are improving there. And then for the White Sox, you've got your trio of guys, Colson Montgomery, Mataka Murakami, Miguel Vargas, who have all been able to give you at least 23 home runs this season. Montgomery, no on base whatsoever at 295, and I mean, for Vargas, only getting at 245 with the average, but 353 on base. Murakami, 227 average, 363 on base, but then Sam Antonacci, 360 on base. Chase Meadroth, 345 on base. Tristan Peters is sitting at 270. And for the White Sox, since the beginning of the month of July, this has been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Trevor Richards has been a nice long guy. Jordan Hicks, down below 365 ERA. They pick up Oscar Brisbane, ironically enough, from the Mets. He's Sean Newcomb, Ryan Hudson, Grant Taylor. I'll give you a sub 325 ERA. So in this mix and match game, I do think that the White Sox can hold their own. Plus 125 or better. Looking at the Sox, minus 123 or better. The Mets, 8 or less, like the over, 8.5 or higher, the under. 923 and 924 on the card. The San Francisco Giants on the road against the Boston Red Sox. For the Red Sox, this is most likely going to be Jake Bennett for them. Should be getting Carson Weizen on as well. For the Giants, this is a little bit TBD with regards to pitching matchup, so that's why a lot of books have this one off the board, but I've got my handicap assuming that this is going to be the pitching matchup. I did set the Red Sox at a minus 219. I'd be willing to go up to a minus 105, by the way, to lay a run half on the run line. Would need at least plus 220 to be able to take a shot here on the San Francisco Giants, and then made a 12 and 8.9, so 8.5 or less. Looking at the over, a 9 or higher. I'm going to be in on the under. Initial money line that I was seeing was the Red Sox at a minus 230. Again, if we can get like a minus 105, even like a minus 108, I'd be willing to go up to on the run line. That's where I'll be looking as for Weizenhunt, assuming that we get him in some form or capacity. That's right now what Fangraphs is projecting. Just not a guy that I want to be trusting in whatsoever. For Mr. Weizenhunt, even going back to last year when he got a cup of coffee at the big league level, he's got a career ERA of a 6.18 with a 6.18 fielding dependent, 6.3 strikeouts, 5.2 walks per 9 innings. Like, anyone not named Weizenhunt actually might be a little bit of an upgrade here for the Giants, and that's saying something because their bullpen is absolutely awful right now. Carson Seymour is posting up over a 5 ERA. Javier St. Martin is certainly not the answer for this team. They just put Keaton Winn on the injury list. It's a team that's now in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, Dylan Smith has actually been solid along JT Brubaker, but for the Giants, I do think that this is probably going to be Weisenhunt and a whole bunch of mixing and matching. We have seen the Giants be able to rise up a little bit more with their offense, as you got William Boor up to 21 home runs, still a 289 on base, but hey, you have the home runs there. Rafael Devers, 24 plus home runs, you know that he wants to stick it to his old team. Now, Bryce Eldridge and Victor Barracoto starting to regress, both guys hitting right around about a 245. Barracoto has no on base whatsoever. Bryce Eldridge more around about a 340 on base. Jungle Lee continues about a 290, and for the Boston Red Sox, this has been a very elite offense. You take a look at what they've been able to do ever since the All-Star break. They are your top run-scoring team. They're averaging well over 5.5 runs per contest. Obviously, Wilson Contreras has been the constant for the team. Nearly a 4 on base, 23 plus home runs, but Ceddanne Rafael, Wilder Abreu, top 6 players since the All-Star break in the American League in terms of total home runs. You've got Nick Sogard now giving you about a 380 on base. Caleb Durbin over the last 60 days is sitting well above a 275. Mickey Gasper has like 3 home runs over the last week for this team as well. So a lot of guys are stepping up. Andrew Maristerio has been relatively solid for this unit as well. And for the Red Sox, they have been hovering between number 1 and number 2 in terms of bullpen ERA all season long. You've got these mix and match guys, Eric Miller, Tyron Guerrero, Giovanni Morin. I'll give you sub 325 ERA. They're now without Garrett Woodlock, but Aroldis Chapman continues to be a great closer. And Jake Bennett, you have to be a little bit cautious of the fact that he's pitching to a lot of contact. I feel like it's catching up to him. He's given up 3+ runs in each out of his last 5 starts, but he keeps the ball in the yard. 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, less than 2 walks per 9, albeit he's only getting about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. But also for Mr. Bennett, 3.46 home ERA, 3.46 ERA away from home as well. So with the Red Sox, like even a minus 108 or better, we'll be looking at that run line. Would need at least plus 220 to take a shot on the Giants here. And then if we can get that 9, I set my total at 8.9, 9 or higher, puts me in on the under. 925, 926 on the card. The Guardians are going to be on the road against the Rockies as Tomoyuki Sugano goes for the Rockies, and Foster Griffin is on the bump for the Guardians. Guardians do find themselves as a favorite here between minus 160 to minus 175, between plus 145 to a plus 150. Then around Colorado, 11 is the total. Right now seeing that overjuice at a minus 110 to, as high as minus 120. I'm even seeing it as low as minus 105 on the under, anywhere between minus 115 to even money. So pick your juice there, but I'm in on the Rockies. Plus 148 or better, put me in there for Foster Griffin and Tomoyuki Sugano, the second and third most profitable pitchers in all of baseball. If you bet these guys on the money line in every one of their start, on both guys, you're up over $1,300. Just absolutely insane. And for Griffin, I see a little bit of regression coming. He's got overall for the season a 3.18 ERA, but more like a 4.24 fielding dependent. 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. Does a nice job nurturing himself with giving up only about 2.2 walks per 9 innings. But you get this guy away from Washington, and he has been giving up a little bit more hard contact, so that's a little bit of an issue. And then for Sugano, it's a case where he's actually been better at Coors rather than away from him. Overall for the season, 4.70 ERA, and he did get lane based in his last start against the LA Dodgers, but he is giving up the 2 home runs per 9 innings, 5.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. Another guy that really doesn't hurt himself, as he's only giving up 2 walks per 9 innings. And you take a look at what he's been able to do at home, 450 home ERA, and at home he's still giving up quite a few deep balls, as he's giving up about 1.7 or so home runs per 9 innings. But away from home, that jumps to over 2 home runs per 9 innings with a 4.91 ERA. And for the Guardians, they are going to have the leg up with regards to the bullpen. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is a Colorado Rockies bullpen in which a lot of guys have been very much less than savory, to say the least, this season, as you've got these guys like Jay Nill, Juan Mejia, along Jimmy Harrigan, Nick Frazo, who have over a 5 ERA. Jordan Romano in a Rockies uniform specifically has been solid, but still you've had your issues there. Brendan Bernardino has been relatively good, and for the Colorado Rockies, it does need to be noted that Hunter Goodman is on the injured list. He has been a good man with over 30 home runs, so that, no doubt about it, is an issue. But still have Mickey Moniak, who's been able to give you 20 plus home runs. He moves the line hitting over a 260, and then have these guys like Cole Carey, TJ Romfield, Jake McCarthy, Troy Johnson, all at least a 275. Maybe not a ton of power, but McCarthy is the guy that gives you a double-figure amount of homers. Willie Castro with a 335 on base, 13 plus home runs. And for the Guardians, even though the lineup is revamped a little bit, you're bringing Joe Adell with 17 plus home runs. He's still only give you about a 290 on base. Nathaniel Lowe has been solid, but he's not the answer for this team. I like what I'm seeing on Stephen Kwan. He and Chase Lauder both above a 355 on base, and then Genoa out there in the infield has been hitting above a 300 as well. But saw these guys like a Patrick Bailey hitting below the Bedell line of 200. Petey Alpin, it's been a little bit better recently, less than a 275 on base. Whenever you've had Rhys Hoskins and some of those just schlub guys out there, they just have not been great, to say the least. And For the Guardians, we have seen a little bit of regression with this bullpen. Eric Sabrowski, Hunter Gaddis, these are two guys now rocking above a 3.25 ERA. Craig Yoho has not been great for the team. Cade Smith has been very good, and Colin Olderman as well. But Colin Olderman is right now dealing with a little bit of an injury as well. I actually think that you get a little bit of a lower scoring game out there at Coors. Guardians still bottom 6 team in terms of run creation, like the under semi-total 10.3, and with the Rockies plus 148 or better. That puts me in on their money line. 927, 928 on the card. You've got the Minnesota Twins, and they are going to be on the road against the Slam Diego Padres, as it is Walker Buehler going for the Padres, and for Minnesota, it's going to be Bailey Ober. And right now for the Padres, going to be finding them anywhere between minus 134 to minus 145. Meanwhile, between plus 116 and plus 125, that number here on the Twins, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110. And I'm in on the Slam Diego Padres, as I did set them here on the money line at a minus 161. For Walker Buehler, you look at the overall season numbers, and I mean, they're not necessarily the world's greatest, but he's rounded into so much better form, giving up 3 earned runs or fewer, and now each out of his last 6 starts, still only getting about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and the 3.7 walks per 9 innings are an issue, but only giving up 1 home run per 9 innings. The advanced numbers indicate that he's been a little bit better than what that 4.79 ERA would indicate, 4.22 fielding independent, and you got a guy in Bailey Ober that I just have no faith in whatsoever. 4.65 ERA, 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings, career low 6.2 strikeouts per 9, and for the Minnesota Twins, they continue to be a bottom 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Now, AJ Minter, Jeff Hoffman, those are 2 guys. They're going to be able to fortify the bullpen a little bit, and I mean, you've been able to get some relatively good innings out of someone like an Andrew Morris, but you still have some of these mix and match guys like Taylor Rogers and company that are just oh so awful in this bullpen. And for the Padres, much more reliability with the likes of Bradley Rodriguez, Adrian Morejon, Yuki Matsui, Wandy Peralta. I'll give you some 350 ERA, getting the ball to Mason Miller. And for the San Diego Padres, top 5 offense in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break, with over 5 runs per game. You've had just massive production here out of Jackson Merrill. He's up to 19 home runs overall for the season, and overall for the season, hitting at 240, well above a 325 since the All-Star break. Fernando Tatis Jr. had 5 home runs prior to the break, 10 home runs since the All-Star break, over a 350 on base out of him. Manny Machado still not giving you a whole heck of a lot of on base. He, Gavin Sheets, Xander Bogaerts, Jake Cronenworth only below a 225, but Cronenworth has been a rounded form as well. And Machado, 24 home runs. And Ty France has been great in this lineup as well. Meanwhile, for the Twins, Byron Buxton hasn't hit a home run in an eon, just has not been himself since his last, I'm going to call it, 2 injured list stints. Now, you do have a guy that I really like in Josh Bell, is up to 17 home runs since June 1st, well above a 340 on base. And then Ryan Jeffers is able to give you over a 375 on base. You've been able to have Lucas Shaw be able to give you about a 365 on base. Not a lot of power out of them, but Cody Clemens, no on base, but 21 home runs on his front as well. And I do think that when it comes to Bailey Ober, he just gets line based by a Padres team that I think is rounding into form with their offense, like the over semi-total at 8.7. And for the Padres, willing to go up to a minus 160 on the money line, wrap things up with 929, 930. The Cubs are going to be on the road against the Mariners, as it is going to be Shota Imanaga going for the Cubs, and it is one Mr. Bryce Miller on the bump for Seattle. Seattle's between minus 105 to a minus 110, minus 112 to minus 105 for the Cubs. 7.5 is the total, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105, and I like the over. I did set my total at 7.6. Quite frankly, Shota Imanaga is very lucky that his ERA is not higher than a 3.77. 4.54 fielding dependent. Really doesn't give up a lot of walks, right around 2 walks per 9 innings, but 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And you'll look at his last 16 starts, a little bit over 2.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Now, he should be benefiting from the fact that Seattle, one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball. And the home and road splits of Bryce Miller spell it out. Overall for the season for Miller, 3.71 ERA, 3.95 fielding dependent. And 8.7 strikeouts, so 1.8 walks per 9 innings is great, but he has a deep ball issue as well. 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but 2.09 ERA at home, 4.94 ERA away from home. Now, he stacks with going up against a Cubs team that is currently second in the big leagues in terms of overall run creation. Pete Armstrong, 30-plus home runs, about a 3.75 on base, has been magnificent. And it's not just him. Seiya Suzuki, 20-plus home runs, about a 3.70 on base. A lot of these guys with not-so-great averages, like Michael Busch, who hits a 2.43. He gives you about a 3.50 on base. Ian Happ, he's been hitting below a 2.20. He's got over a 3.20 on base, and he's been able to give you 19-plus home runs. Miguel Amaya hits just a 2.35, more like a 3.40 on base, so do have a lot of those mix and match guys. And for the Seattle Mariners, I do feel like Brendan Donovan is making a positive impact for the team. Was out of the fold yesterday, but him coming off the injured list should be able to help out the team. You've got Randy Arozarena, Julio Rodriguez, Dom Canzone, all between 18 to 20 home runs for Canzone and Rodriguez, both hitting about a 2.50, but Arozarena, 3.70 on base, goes deep yesterday. Love to see that. You did get a home run from Cal Raleigh a few days ago as well. Still been a massive disappointment for the team, but he might be able to give you a bit of something. And for the Mariners, it's been up and down with the bullpen. I don't really trust in Sir Anthony Dominguez, but still do have Gabe Spire, I think is done with his suspension, Edward Brazardo, guys like this I'll be able to give you a sub 375 ERA. Nick DeVilla has been solid in this bullpen, and Andres Munoz, he seems to be rounding into better form. And for the Chicago Cubs, they've been banged up in their bullpen all season long, but been able to get some good production. The likes of Daniel Palencia just came off the injury list, Trent Thornton, Jacob Webb, even Gavin Holloway when they've looked at him as well. So it's a very interesting circumstance. I do think that the Mariners get to Shota Imanaga to be able to get the job done here. Set them at minus 152. Like the Mariners on the money line. I like the over. Semi-total at 7.6. That'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show. Now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Big thanks to William Boor over at Action Network for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_D1. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way, that's fine, an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day, giving you guys picks and analysis on every game every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.